been Jacob's Quest, and today I just finished watching episode 9 of the first season finale of The Last of Us. There's going to be a second season, obviously, covering the next game. But yeah, so this ending pretty much happened exactly the way it happens in the video game. There are a couple changes, obviously. So we start off with some things that we've never seen before. This is Anna, who is Ellie's mom, and I don't think this has ever been covered, or maybe it was turned into a comic book one time. I'm not entirely sure, but it is something new, you know, viewing wise. And basically what happens is that Ellie's mom was pregnant. She's running away from infected, and she runs into this house. She is moments away from giving birth, and she has to fight off this single infected person, and she ends up getting bit before she can cut the umbilical cord. And so I suppose this is supposed to serve as our sort of explanation as to why Ellie is immune, and they kind of go into it, which I think is also in the video game, where basically she does indeed have cordyceps in her brain, possibly, and basically because she has cordyceps already in her brain, anytime she would get bit after that, it's like, oh, you're already infected, so it just doesn't bother, you know, it doesn't mess with her because it thinks that she's already, you know, infected with cordyceps. And supposedly that's essentially what we're seeing here play out, because she, you know, her mom was bit before the umbilical cord was cut. And we do see Marlene come in right as Anna is, you know, she's in the process of dying, and she you know, her mom's like, or Ellie's mom's like, here, Marlene, take Ellie, make sure she finds a home, give her this knife, give her this jacket, you know, all this stuff, right? Basically, like, here's all of her things, you know, all of her Ellie stuff. And then she kills her, right? Just saying like, yeah, all right, now kill me because I'm about to turn, I'm all infected now. And her mom lies. Her mom's like, I cut the umbilical cord before I got bit, which, you know, that's not true, but, you know, you kind of get the sense that Marlene knew that wasn't true, but the baby seemed okay, so she's like, all right, fine, you know, even though that's probably against typical protocol. Anyways, so we do get this, you know, this scene between Marlene and Ellie's mom, sort of as a, I guess, to make the ending hit even harder, as to like, yeah, Marlene had been there for Ellie's like whole life, maybe not like actually being a mom to her or anything, but was definitely at least like looking out for her. She had made this promise to her mom, and, you know, doing all that. So basically it's like Marlene making the choice to go through with this surgery, you know, basically killing Ellie, getting the brain sample and using that to try and make a cure, you know, basically to show of like, yeah, this is hard for Marlene to do as well, right? And of course we see, you know, Joel do this whole play out of like, well, you know, I still have an option. And we see, of course, he does his thing where he, you know, he fights off the guards and he kills everyone in the hospital, and he's just doing like this one man, you know, killing spree, killing all the doctors and all the other Firefly soldiers, right? And I am curious how, if you've only watched the show and you did not play the video game, I'm curious where you land on this, because I feel like most people are on Joel's side, you know, people who played the video game, because, you know, we spent the whole game playing as Joel and Ellie, and, you know, so like we completely understand in that moment of like, yeah, it's a video game, go ahead and shoot all these other soldiers and make this decision, you know. But I'm curious, if you're a viewer, if you've only watched the show, how do you feel about this? Because I'm wondering if it's different. Maybe if you did not play as these characters though for like 20-30 hours, whatever, I'm wondering if it feels a little different. Maybe it's more clear that Joel might have been making a mistake in this moment. And I do appreciate that they, you know, there's like somber music playing the entire time that Joel's basically going on this massacre throughout the hospital, because, you know, it's just putting on the point of like, hey, you know, whether this decision is right or wrong, it's not like a triumphant action hero moment, you know what I mean? Like, you're not supposed to be like, yeah, I'm really cool doing this. It's like, hey, he's doing this out of love, but also it might be a selfish love, in the sense of like, you know, how many people are gonna, you know, like, you essentially could have saved the world possibly, and now you've made the sole decision to be like, no. So it's just that kind of like, that's like the major conflict here, and we kind of see this being reflected throughout, Sam and Henry and all kinds of different characters of just like, what would you be willing to do? And so now we see what Joel's willing to do. And by the way, Joel's like brutal during this massacre. He's not like trying to like talk about it or give anyone any kind of second chances. He's like, no, like the surgeon, who we'll talk about later, that's going to turn out to be an important person. The surgeon who was about to perform it, he grabs a scalpel and he's like, I'm not gonna let you take Ellie away, and he just shoots him. He's like, all right. Like super cold, no, like no talking this out. Like they're just other soldiers. Like Joel does not care in this moment. He's doing what he wants to do. And even with Marlene of like, Marlene's like, no, let me go. She's like shot, she's bleeding, and he's like, you just come after her, and shoots her. Like, so, we do get a sense of like, if we'll talk about this in a little bit, but for example, if you were from a different character's perspective, you might see Joel as the bad guy in this moment. You know what I mean? So we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I'm curious, if you only watch the show, how do you feel? How do you feel about Joel's decision here? And then he lies to Ellie about it, of course. So, and we get the sense of like, Ellie knows the truth. She's not dumb. And the way she's asking these questions, it's like, okay, she's willing to go along with Joel's lie because maybe she's too scared to know what the truth is. Like, what did Joel do? Did he fully make this decision on his own? And yeah, so just obviously this all plays out in the next game / season 2, and we're gonna see how well they adapt that, and how maybe they switch some things around, and we'll see how people feel about that second season, because some things happen, and obviously it's a controversy, but we'll get all into that. But yeah, other than that, we see new footage of Ellie's mom at the beginning, and then we see the giraffe moment. That was really cool. I'm glad they kept that in there. The giraffes look pretty good. I mean, obviously there was some CG work there. I don't know if they were entirely CG or if they were just kind of what would you call it, photoscoped in. I don't know if there was like some of the footage might have been actual giraffes and they kind of like put them in there digitally, or if they were 100% CG. I don't really know, but I'm glad they had the moment in there. And like usual, they did not have a lot of infected in this episode, and that's kind of just been a thing throughout the show. And I guess it's fine. I say this every time, but it is like, okay, you don't want to have the big, because in the game there's like a whole, they're going through the sewers, and it's like one of the most highly infected areas of the entire game. They have to go through the sewage ports here in order to get to the hospital, and they just didn't do that this episode. So I suppose it's fine. But the way that they end up at the hospital in the game was that they had just fought their way through the sewers, and they end up like barely making it out, and then they kind of just pass out, I think, right? But here they get attacked by just people making the rounds, and they didn't know who they were, so they get a flashbang grenade, and then that's how they get knocked out. But yeah, in any case, I'm fine with it. They don't have a lot of infected in the show, and I guess I understand, right? Like, just it makes those moments that they do show up more impactful, I suppose. But it is one of those things where it's like, I hope season 2 has more infected, because it's a major element of this world that you've built, and we only see like maybe 1 or 2 at a time, except for episode 3 or episode 4, or whichever episode that was. So I don't know. I think that's my one thing where I'm like, you could put more infected in the show. That's really my biggest criticism. Everything else, I feel like they've done really, really well, but maybe a little bit more monsters. So, all right, let's talk about season 2 and the second game and everything that's going to happen here, and stuff that I kind of half expected them to do and they didn't do it. During his rampage throughout the hospital, the surgeon that he kills, the surgeon that was about to perform on Ellie and take her brain out, I guess, that turns out to be the father of the main antagonist for the second game, Abby. And obviously Abby goes on in the second game. Again, spoilers for second game, second season of the show. At the beginning of the second game, Abby goes on to hunt down Joel and kill him in front of Ellie. Joel dies, and the rest of the game is Ellie hunting down Abby, Abby running away from other people, Ellie finding Abby, and it's basically just this big revenge arc, right? Like, that's the entire story of the second game. So are they gonna mess around with some things? Are they gonna maybe hide the fact that Joel dies so early on? Are they gonna, who knows exactly what they may or may not do, or how closely they'll keep it to the same, or keep it the same as the second game. Obviously it was it was a controversy to a ridiculous degree when the game was coming out. It even leaked, like I think it leaked a month before the game came out or something like that, and it kind of just lit the internet on fire during that point in time. But I don't know, I'm curious what they choose to do there, because obviously they have an opportunity here to maybe rearrange some scenes or add in some things that, I don't want to say soften the blow of Joel's death, but definitely, make it more palatable for some people, because some people were like, they couldn't take it. Like, I don't know what happened there, but like when they saw Joel's death scene, they're like, it's like it broke them or something. I don't know, it was weird. But yeah, so that is one thing. I half expected them to show Abby as a younger Abby, like walking through the hospital or discovering her father's body or something, because I was thinking like, well, that would be a perfect time to to kind of set up the next season, but they didn't really do that at all. So I guess it's fine, like they kept exactly how it happens in the game. But I was kind of hoping for like maybe a little bit of an Easter egg, show like a blonde kid, like just walking around, and you'd be like, oh, that's Abby, there she is, but anyways, yeah, so just man, they did it. This is definitely, I'm gonna say, the most faithful video game adaptation, the most successful one. But it feels like in recent years we've definitely gone on an uptick of video game adaptations, right? We've had Sonic the Hedgehogs, which they're not like straight adaptations of any one entry in Sonic, but they're pretty good. And now we have this, and then we have the Mario movie coming out soon, and that looks to be, it looks pretty good based on the trailers. So video game adaptations are just, they're starting to work. It feels like we're entering this era of like, we had our comic book movies, now maybe we're finally going to get our video game movies and TV shows, and it's finally going to start working. So we got season 2 of this coming out, and eventually there's going to be a God of War on Amazon. Hopefully that works out. Yeah, they're doing it, and it feels like this is going to be one of the things that people point towards, and they're going to be like, hey, remember when The Last of Us came out and just kind of proved to whatever higher ups need it to be proved to, that like, hey, video games can be serious, and their adaptations can be serious, and it can be like actual adult television, you know what I mean? So this does feel like one of the cases that's gonna like open the doors for more serious, real world, high budget, actual effort put in video game adaptations to be made, so yeah, just it's a good feeling. We're here, they did it, the season was successful. Well, again, we'll see how season 2 goes, because it's going to be adapting a controversial story, and this is their chance to either change some things or not change some things. So I don't know how they're going to end up making this work, but in any case, yeah, this was a pretty awesome season of TV. It didn't go on too long. It just, were there things that I wish they had in there? Were there certain scenes? Was there maybe a lack of infected monsters? Sure, but overall they hit the important parts. They got the character beats down, the dramatic beats. The show works, and they did it. So anyways, that's The Last of Us. That's it, guys, until I imagine next year, or however long it'll take until season 2 comes out. But yeah, that's The Last of Us. All right, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.